The Republic Bank Caribbean Premier League bowls off tonight. Brandon King leads defending champions Jamaica Tallawahs in the start of their tight defence against St. Lucia Kings at the Darren Sammy Stadium, starting right after the SportsMax zone. That's 6 p.m. in Jamaica, 7 in the Eastern Caribbean. Now, amidst the excitement of the CPL, news broke on Wednesday that former West Indies middle-order batsman Marlon Samuels was found guilty by an independent panel of 4 breaches to the Emirates Cricket Board's anti-corruption code. The charges were in relation to the 2019 edition of the Abu Dhabi T10, where Samuels represented Kartanaka Tuskers. These are the breaches. Article 2.4.2, failing to disclose to the designated anti-corruption official the receipt of any gift, payment, hospitality or other benefit that was made or given in circumstances that could bring the participant or the sport of cricket into disrepute. Article 2.4.3, failing to disclose to the designated anti-corruption official receipt of hospitality with a value of US $750 or more. Article 2.4.6, failing to cooperate with the designated anti-corruption official's investigation, and Article 2.4.7, obstructing or delaying the designated anti-corruption official's investigation by concealing information that may have been relevant to the investigation. Now, the tribunal is yet to decide on a sanction. Joining us to shed light on the possible sanction and the case is attorney at law Sean Tika Singh. Sean, it's a pleasure to have you on the SportsMax zone. Good afternoon. First of all, how are you doing?
Pleasant good afternoon to everyone. I'm fine, and I would thank SportsMax for inviting me to try and explain to the viewership what the effects are to Mr. Samuels.
Yeah, let's get right to it. From what you have seen of this case, what do you think are the pertinent details to get out there, first of all?
Well, first of all, I think all the viewers need to understand that this is a tribunal that was set up by the ICC to try and regulate any conduct or acts that could put the game of cricket into disrepute. It should be distinguished from the police or a state or a country taking action against someone. So that, first of all, that would affect any sanctions that could be imposed on an individual. So in this particular case, he has been found wanting and guilty of the disciplinary offenses. The maximum penalty for 2 of those offenses are, in fact, a minimum term of 6 months ineligibility to participate in any ICC events, teams, or anything that any of the ICC members are hosting, which would include the West Indies Cricket Board, the Jamaica Cricket Board, any cricket board that is associated with the ICC. The minimum term is either 6 months, and the maximum could be 5 months ineligibility for 2 of the substantive charges, and the 2 disciplinary or procedural offenses, minimum of 0 months to 2 years ineligibility. And with both all 4 of the charges, Mr. Samuels can be fined by the tribunal.
Yeah.
The very last paragraph of the decision has given Mr. Samuels 14 days to make representation to the tribunal as to what is the penalty or sanction to be imposed on him.
Yeah, and Sean, you mentioned that Marlon Samuels can be fined, right? And for me, at the top of the show, I was speaking about this. This is a very different case from a player that is active and playing cricket, and of course, it will affect them. So in his case, we looking on, of course, could see that he will only be affected by the fines, because a lot of people as well would want to know, can he be arrested? And I understand it's not a criminal case, but how does this affect him? This person in particular, who's not playing cricket at the moment.
Well, we all know Marlon Samuels. Anyone who has watched cricket, he was a very explosive, exciting batsman, a very good bowler. teams may have wanted him and his expertise in some sort of coaching department, a mentorship role, etc. He obviously cannot be in that position if there is a sanction making him ineligible to participate in any of those teams that fall under the umbrella that is ICC. So that is how it will affect Mr. Samuels. Now, what needs to be said also is Mr. Samuels does have 21 days from the delivery of the judgment or the decision on him to appeal to the CAS, the arbitration for sport. So he does have options. I also want to point out in the decision in itself, it was very detailed, but Mr. Samuels may very well want to look at all the reasoning that was said in the decision to determine whether or not he would want to challenge. See, one judge of the tribunal had a dissenting or deferring decision in relation to the substantive charges, and that is an area Mr. Samuel may look at to try and challenge the decision. So there are options available to Mr. Samuel, and of course he will look at that in detail with his attorneys.
Yeah, Sean, going down the line that Mariah just went regarding the fact that he's not an active player, I do understand the point you just made, because with the IPL and some of these established global T20 leagues, they do have mentors, and a lot of ex-players are employed to teams, as you said, for mentorship roles and so on. But can you say what the levels of fines could be with regard to this sanction?
Now, I cannot say with certainty the level of fines, and definitely the ICC code does list a number of things that the tribunal will have to look at, which is aggravating factors, whether or not he was actually playing for a team. In this particular case, he did not play in the T10 league, whether or not it affected the sport, whether it would bring the sport into disrepute. Apart from that, what are the factors he can bring forward? How good was his history? Was he a bad player? Did he have disciplinary offenses? How will this affect him overall? Did he have option to commit any of these disciplinary offenses? But it's a broad spectrum. There is no upper or lower limit for the fines, and it's really up to the tribunal on all the circumstances of the case to determine how has this really affected the sport of cricket in a negative way, and impose a penalty that they would think is appropriate.
Interesting that you just referenced his playing days and his behavioural image, because the BBC in its report highlighted on-field clashes he had with Shane Warne and Graham Onions and Ben Stokes. So certainly international or globally, how this story is being portrayed, there is constant reference being made to clashes he has had personality-wise with opposing players.
Definitely, Mr. Samuels has always been a very dynamic, emotional, high-charged cricketer. But that is separate and apart from the disciplinary offence. Whether or not the tribunal or a disciplinary tribunal has taken action against him is really the main concern, as opposed to instances where he may have acted in a way that someone may think may not have been appropriate, but never made it to the tribunal as a disciplinary offence.
Yeah, Sean, I just want you to quickly develop on this point for me. In the judgment, what type of evidence, if any at all, did Marlon Samuels bring forward in his defense?
So Mr. Samuels did not, from the record of the decision, doesn't seem that he gave evidence in the matter, nor did he lead evidence from any witnesses of his choosing. So really the evidence came from the anti-corruption officers and an interview that was taken from Mr. Samuels at the time of their investigations. And of course, when the charges were in fact delivered on him, his response. So in terms of evidence, Mr. Samuels did not go into the witness box, so to say, and give any evidence. So the evidence only came from one of the parties, and that's the anti-corruption unit.
Yeah, what does that say to you, if anything at all?
I really can't go into that. There's many reasons why someone may choose not to give evidence. It could be that he chooses not to self-incriminate himself. It could also be that he was under the belief that the charges were not made out against him, because from the decision and the record and from the decision, it would be clear to see that he was challenging the fact that the anti-corruption unit did not have any evidence against him. So it could very well be that Mr. Samuels may have taken the position after taking advice from his attorneys that it was not necessary for him to give evidence in the matter.
Yeah, Sean Tika Singh, thank you very much for chatting with us on the SportsMax Zone. We really appreciate it, and we appreciate you shedding some light on this matter. Yeah, Marlon Samuels, what a controversial figure he has been. As Lance pointed out, he was suspended from the game for 2 years between 2008 and 2010 for an anti-corruption breach as well. He had issues with his bowling action, suspended on a couple of occasions, once from bowling completely, another time from bowling the quicker delivery. He had those on-field clashes with the likes of Shane Warne, Ben Stokes, Graham Onions, and of course, having said all of that, and despite all the negatives, the highs were really high as well, because he won 2 T20 World Cup titles for the West Indies. What a man, Marlon Samuels. We take a break. We'll go back with more on the SportsMax Zone.